The Moist Meter is a proud partner of our comic book series Godslap and Plague Seeker. Both are available at badegg.co, link in the description. This is going to come as a huge surprise. I am not the target audience for the new Barbie movie. That being said, I said, to hell with the rules. Damn them. I'm going to see this movie anyway. So let's dive in a bit. The movie has a lot of charm to it. Surprisingly, I thought it'd all be very formulaic, but they actually went very hard with the set design in Barbie Land. Barbie Land really does look like an actual playset come to life. It has a very interesting visual aesthetic to it that I thought was pretty cool. They put a lot of care into how Barbie Land looked, and I think they kind of fucking nailed it. And by far the best performance in this movie comes from Ryan Gosling as Ken. I'm a Ryan Gosling fan. I think most of the roles he chooses, he's very good in. And here he lets his acting chops get a little wacky. Even when I think he's working with pretty weak material, there is absolutely just some throwaway lines in here that's supposed to be low-hanging fruit gags. Ryan Gosling brings a certain amount of pizzazz to and makes it more enjoyable than it has any right to be. Also, speaking of the comedy, this movie is pretty much a full-blown comedy, though it does want to deliver a message, and it spends a lot of time developing and delivering that message. But the focal point is on the comedy, and in our theater, which was fucking filled to the brim, literally overflowing with human beings here, which I did not expect. I didn't know this movie was going to be this big. There was many times that jokes just went to pure fucking silence. Like actual church mouse shit. A joke would be told in the movie, not a single giggle. Not even a pity fart out of uncomfortableness. Nothing. Pure silence, like a sensory deprivation tank. There were some jokes that completely missed. But you expect that in a comedy. Not every joke's going to be a heater, but I was pretty surprised at how many didn't land at all. But then there were some that landed in a big way where the theater lost their fucking mind. So it had some high highs and low lows when it comes to its comedy here. And the common thread was the ones that were landing were ones that had Ryan Gosling kind of at the forefront as either the butt of the joke or the one delivering the joke. I just really think Ken was a surprise superstar here. Everyone knew Margot Robbie was going to be a good Barbie, and she is. I think she does a great job in this role here. I think she absolutely fucking nails it. She captures both that, living the perfect life thing, as well as also starting to open up to what it means to be human. I think she really captures both super well, which is really important since it's a big narrative point in the film about Barbie going from the perfect life, every day being her best day, to now humanity has fucking infiltrated her soul out of nowhere, and it's scaring her and she doesn't understand it. She wants everything to be perfect, but starts to come to terms with, you know what? Maybe things are better when they're not all perfect. I thought this was going to be mainly for young girls and in general a younger audience, but a lot of the jokes were a lot more mature themed than I would expect for a kid focused demographic. There was a lot of actually mature jokes in here. She blatantly just drops the word vagina when talking to some dudes, and then Ken's talking about his wiener. It is PG-13 rated, but I thought that was kind of just for show. But no, I was wrong. They really do have a lot more older themed jokes in here, I guess mainly for the children's parents that got roped into bringing them so they're not bored out of their fucking mind watching the Barbie movie. I suppose that would be the play here. One thing I also really didn't understand about this film is it's very clear that the focal point is on Barbie and Ken, in particular Barbie Land, and also the big difference between Barbie Land and the real world when they do eventually cross over to the real world. That's one of the core narrative points. Barbie's starting to experience emotions which she's never experienced before, so her and Ken come to the real world to get to the bottom of it because they speculate that there must be a little girl out there who's playing with a Barbie right now that's going through a tough time, and it's making Barbie and Barbie Land feel those things, and she wants to fix it. So they go to the real world, and everything's different in the real world. It's a huge fucking shock to both of them, and they both deal with it very differently. And while they're in the real world, this is when Will Ferrell's character comes in, as well as the entire Mattel board. And this, I feel, was such a complete useless thing to even have in here. Will Ferrell does nothing. The entire Mattel board does nothing. If they weren't in this film, nothing would change. They have no impact on the plot. They have no impact on anything. And they don't even really have many scenes to begin with. There's like one like Scooby-Doo chase scene where they're chasing Barbie around the office and it's very cartoonish. But aside from that, like they don't even really do anything, so I don't know why they're here. Like I feel like they just wasted so much money getting Will Ferrell's name attached to this, and it was just a big bait and switch because he's barely in it and he barely does anything. They have no fucking purpose in the film, and you would have been able to shave off a handful of minutes by just not having them here, which would have been good for the runtime because I do think it drags a little bit, so that would have been helpful for the pacing. I don't even know why that entire arc is even here with Mattel and Will Ferrell. Not that I think Will Ferrell does a bad job in it, he's clearly having fun, but it just doesn't add anything. Like, the jokes that they deliver are not really good jokes to begin with. It seems like it was just improv from the actors. Like, they sat them down and just said, hey, just do something that'll make me giggle and we'll put it in the film. And they just do, like, some random shit. They just don't really do anything, so I don't know why they were there. To me, it just feels like a waste of dollars here, a waste of good clams putting Will Ferrell on this project here, because you know they had to pay out the ass to get him to come into it. I don't think he did it for free. So I just feel like that could have been better spent elsewhere. But anyway, the film is really at its best in Barbie Land. When they go to the real world, it's not that interesting because that's kind of when the Mattel stuff comes through. But then they bring in two humans that kind of form the basis of the emotional draw of the film, the emotional soul of the Barbie movie, and that's when it puts a lot of focus on the message it wants to deliver, and the message is definitely geared towards younger girls. It's meant to inspire them and teach them that, you know, even though society puts a lot of pressure on women, it's good to be yourself, it's okay to feel a certain way about certain things, it's okay to not know exactly what you want to do in life. It delivers a message that I think would resonate more with a younger girl than it does me, a 28-year-old man. So I'm not here to speak on the effectiveness of the message or anything like that, but it is worth mentioning. It's not just a comedy like nothing else. It does want to deliver a positive message to the young audience that's there to watch it. Now, I've definitely got to mention, the word patriarchy here is used at least 2,000 times in the last second half of this film. That becomes a huge focal point for the plot, is the patriarchy. I don't want to get into spoilers on how it makes its way into Barbie Land and everything like that, but then it becomes like the main evil they fight against is the patriarchy. So things get real wild in the film here, which is definitely not what I was expecting here. But overall, I didn't dislike the film, but it's very clearly a film that isn't meant for me. I am definitely just not the target demographic, as surprising as that is to hear. I know it's fucking shocking. But even still, I didn't hate the film or anything. I don't think it's a bad movie. And I do think Ryan Gosling really fucking shined here. Huge thanks to ourselves for sponsoring this Moist Meter. Godslap is a comic series written by myself, Jackson, Matt, Danny, and Aubrey Sitterson. It follows the story of a character named Ace, who's an extremely powerful slapper in a world where slapping is king. Issue 3 just dropped. It's all available at badegg.co, and shit is starting to pop off. Ace is being hunted by a mysterious foe named Defister, who, after swan diving through a hospital, picks up Ace's trail and hunts him to the ends of the earth with his sidekick Olfactor. And also, our newest comic series, Plague Seeker, just came out. Issue 0 is available at badegg.co. It's written entirely by myself and edited by Jackson. It's set in a world 1,000 years after an apocalyptic event known as the Calamity. An asteroid hits Earth, and it brought with it mutations that changed all of its inhabitants. Now the world is infested with things called plagues, and atop the food chain sits 8 great plagues that control the entire world, and only one man stands against them, the Plague Seeker, who has an insatiable appetite to devour those 8 great plagues. So all of this is available at badegg.co, so please check it out. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Better Call Saul. The series finale just dropped, which means it's time for me to put on the lab coat and give a scientific breakdown for why this show is a masterpiece. Now, I already made a whole video comparing Better Call Saul to Breaking Bad, giving my opinions on both, so I'm not going to be comparing the two in here. I'm just going to be focusing on Better Call Saul. So I think it's an absolute must-watch, but it's a show that I can recognize not everyone's going to like, and that's fine. It's not a crime to have shitty taste. It's a show that's a slow burn, and that's just not going to fit everyone, but I could really appreciate it. It was just a show that I got really engrossed in. I didn't watch it until season 6, like week by week. I had to catch up from seasons 1 through 5. Over the course of like a month, I binged the fuck out of it. I went so hog wild, I loved it. Now for the Moist Meter, I'm mainly going to focus on season 6, since it's the final season and that's what just finished, and I've already talked at length about 1 through 5 in that video I made comparing this show to Breaking Bad, so I don't want to just repeat myself, so I'll give you the cliff notes here. The show absolutely slaps. Again, it's a slower show, and that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's not going to be everyone's spaghetti and meatballs, but if you're someone that's just looking for an extremely well-written story and extremely well-written characters, this show is absolutely going to be for you. I think there is no other show in television history that has this level of writing that Better Call Saul does. It was just an incredible fucking ride from start to finish. Now let's get into it and spread some peanut butter on this sandwich. Season 6 was broken up into 2 parts, with a hiatus in between where there was a few weeks with everyone's dick being soft, just scratching at the neck, waiting for it to come back and conclude. And now it has. I think the first half of season 6 was better than the second. That's not to say the second was bad, because it was by no means bad. It was still amazing, but the first half had something very special about it, and that is Lalo Salamanca. I'm going to be getting into some spoilers here because, obviously, it's the series finale, so in order to give my thoughts, I need to at least talk about what happens a bit. In the first half of season 6, Lalo Salamanca is this omniscient boogeyman that's haunting the characters. He can be anywhere at any time and kill you if he doesn't like the way you smell. He's just this looming miasma of misery that at any moment could just show up and kill, and god damn it, he does. The mid-season finale with the execution of Howard was probably one of the most stunning moments I've ever had watching a TV show. When that episode ended, I just sat there for like 3 or 4 minutes just digesting what I had just seen, just marinating on it. I couldn't believe it. It came out of nowhere, but it's not like it was just shock for the sake of shock or anything. Like, it felt like, damn, this is some Lalo shit. Like, it absolutely made sense, and it was so beautifully done. You know, Howard was a character where you were never, like, rooting for Howard, per se. He was framed as a bad guy, but he was never actually a bad guy. Howard was a really interesting antagonist, where he was just, like, a nice guy overall, with some moments of being a douchebag, but overall, he was just kind of a neutral, decent person who just always got used and abused by Saul and Kim and everyone around him, and then eventually just fucking murdered. And he didn't deserve any of it, really. This show just does an incredible job with every character of making you care. So even someone like Howard, who for 5 seasons we've been kind of like, ew, Howard's here, that means it's going to be trouble for Saul, you still can't help but feel awful when he's taken away. I think Lalo Salamanca was really the most important component of this show. They needed someone like Lalo to be even more evil than Saul and everyone else in the cast. Because Saul's not like a hero. He's not a good guy. No one would ever watch this show and be like, damn, you know, Saul Goodman, what a fucking saint. He's driven by compulsion. He hurts everyone around him for selfish reasons. He's a bad guy. But he's a really well fleshed out bad guy, where you are still rooting for him most of the time, but then you always see him go a little too far, just go over the line. And I think Lalo was just the perfect villain to stack up against him. And they also introduced another extremely strong character, Nacho. He's not in season 6, but I do just want to mention him because that's another new character that wasn't in Breaking Bad that absolutely shines in this show. I just wanted to at least put that out there. But back to season 6, I think in the first half, Lalo is what amplified it to being such an incredible first half. That mid-season finale still being probably one of my favorite episodes of a TV show. And then the first episode back for the second half of season 6, I thought was an absolute banger. That's when Lalo, spoilers, huge spoilers, Lalo gets beaten. Lalo gets killed by Gus in an incredible showdown. I actually thought that entire episode was so fucking perfect. I couldn't be happier with how they concluded Lalo's story, because this, of course, comes before Breaking Bad, so you know Lalo's not there. You knew he was going to die at some point, but you didn't know how, and I thought they executed it flawlessly with Gus doing it. Until the very end, Lalo was a menace. He had outplayed, outmaneuvered, outgunned everyone at every point throughout this entire show, and even in the episode where he dies, he was still on top until the very last second with some lucky shots that got him. So he doesn't go down like a bitch or like a pussy. He doesn't have like an underwhelming death. He has a really fitting death that I thought served the character very well. And he gets banished to the Shadow Realm with a smile on his face. He laughs himself into the afterlife. A really great conclusion to Lalo, but in my opinion, I felt the show kind of stagnated a bit after that. The following 2 or 3 episodes, while not being bad by any means, I don't think had that same level of impact that the first half of the season as well as the first episode of the second half had. It focuses on Saul post Breaking Bad. So now we're following Saul as he's undercover as Gene. So Gene is Saul Goodman after Breaking Bad, after, going through the identity change and everything and being on the run. So Gene works at a Cinnabon and he's starting to dip his toes back into a life of crime. He gets a little team together and they're pulling off small jobs for some money. And it's fun to watch. It's like silly little side quests, and it has a lot of humor in it. It reminds me of like the villains from SpongeBob when they form evil. Every villain is Lemons. Like, obviously Saul's the only one here with experience and the only one that actually comes up with the plans. But there's a lot of moments where the other characters do some wild shit. For example, one of them, while stopped at a stop sign and driving a taxi, is just hanging out for a while. Some cops pull up behind him. They don't have their lights on or anything. They're just sitting there eating fish tacos behind him, unaware of anything going on. And the taxi driver, who's working with Saul, panics, shifts his car to drive like he's fucking, shifting and Fast and Furious, ready to engage the nitrous oxide boosters, steps on the gas and immediately crashes into a parked car in front of him, which gets him arrested. This was actually the catalyst for Saul's demise. So Saul had earned the trust of this guy's mom. She was an elderly woman and he had lied to her about a missing dog, and then they became friends and then formed this group that was robbing people. But when her son got arrested, Saul did what he does and he lawyered the shit out of it. He came up with a plan to get him out, so he called his mom, and his mom got really suspicious because she doesn't know this is Saul Goodman. She knows this guy as Gene, just an ordinary guy working at Cinnabon. So she starts wondering how he knows all this and eventually connects the dots that Gene is Saul Goodman, and then she eventually calls the cops on him, which leads to his arrest. This is a super fitting way for Saul to go down, by the way, because in the beginning, you'll remember Jimmy McGill, Saul Goodman, Jimmy had made a career out of working with elderly clients early on. He manipulated a lot of elderly people early on. So to finally get busted because of manipulating an elderly woman again, I think is just a poetic, great finish. I thought that was really well done. But my point is, I didn't find the adventures of Gene and this ragtag group of misfits robbing people to be super interesting. It was entertaining, like I enjoyed it, but it felt like it lacked aim. Which, again, you would expect. It was just kind of like a refractory period after the first episode of the second half of the season. Again, I don't think it was bad or anything. I don't even think it was lackluster because I still enjoyed them. But it just felt like it lacked an overall purpose. It was just watching Gene get back into Saul Goodman's, helm. Taking it back and, doing what he does best. Fun, goofy adventures, a bit silly at times, but it all did have a purpose in the end, where the mom connects the dots, calls the police, and they arrest Saul Goodman. And that brings us to the series finale, where Saul Goodman, yet again, shines. He's able to strong-arm everyone legally, just laying down this fucking smackdown of law, and then even gets Kim out there to witness it, but decides to throw it all away, and confesses to every single one of his crimes that we've seen him commit throughout both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He makes a very public spectacle about everything that he's ever done wrong. And the series ends with him in prison. That's all she wrote. I think it's an extremely fitting conclusion. A character like Saul Goodman never deserved a happy ending, but this is about the best that he can get. Kim visits him in jail as his attorney, and the two get to connect one last time, and we see Jimmy in prison looking longingly outside at Kim. I think it was a fucking beautiful finale. Like I said, I enjoyed the first half more than the second half, but I love where the second half eventually ends up. I think Better Call Saul is a must-watch show that I recognize not everyone's going to appreciate, but I do think it's worth everyone giving it a chance. It is such an incredibly well-written show, I can't think of anything like it. I fucking loved it, so plugging Better Call Saul into the Moist Meter, I'm giving it a 95%, and I can't recommend the show highly enough. That's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at The Green Knight. I knew nothing about this movie, and I knew even less about the Green Knight lore. I had no clue it was like a 10,000-year-old poem that was written back way before Jesus was even born or whatever. I just knew absolutely nothing about The Green Knight. So I went in here without any expectations, and I gotta say, what an experience. I can absolutely say this is the most unique movie I've seen this year, from the visuals to the music to the set design, costuming. Pretty much every aspect of this movie is unlike anything else that has come out in all of 2021. It's extremely impressive and it looks and sounds extremely good. But not only that, it's filmed in a unique way. It's filmed like it's a fucking riddle that you have to solve while watching it, or like a Lego set without the instructions, and I don't think everyone's gonna like that. I personally didn't mind, though there were some things that I was just a little upset that they didn't give clarity to, that I think were extremely important to at least touch on. Like sometimes throughout this journey of Gawain, they will introduce a character only for them to not exist 30 seconds later. So you're constantly questioning what's real and what's not a lot. And there's constant like abrupt cuts to different things, especially towards the end of the movie, and it just makes you very confused on what's really happening. Throughout the journey, there's a lot of this where there's just like these giant leaps that just don't make a whole lot of sense in the way that the movie flows. Towards the end of this review, I will do a couple of spoilers so I can tell you exactly what I'm talking about and give a few examples. I don't want to spoil too much, but I will do a section for spoilers towards the end, so if you want to know a little more about what I mean, you can stick around. But yeah, throughout this movie, there are times where it's like, why? Or what the fuck is going on? I also don't like sometimes that it takes way too long on a single shot. The intro, to me, was really upsetting, and the biggest culprit of this, for like the first almost 2 to 3 minutes, it is a single static shot of one little area and almost nothing happening, and then it pulls out, and then the movie really starts. It's like, did it need to be that long? Like, I understand that it's a slower movie. It's an A24 film, so if you're not a fan of A24 films, you probably won't like this one. I do like A24, and I do like this movie, but I do think that it went a little too pretentious with some of its shots, and it didn't need to be as slow as it needed to at times. There's another scene, and this one's not a spoiler, where it's showing Gawain, and then it slowly, and I mean fucking like the camera's stuck in a like thick honey, slowly turns, and it keeps turning and turning and fucking turning. It's like in Austin Powers when he's driving the goddamn steamroller and the guy's just like screaming ah, and it's like 45 seconds of that. That's that shot, but stretched across 5 minutes. So it turns, 3 minutes go by, and then it does a full 360, so now we're back on Gawain, something's changed, and then it turns again for another 3 minutes. It is the longest 360, well, 720 shot of all fucking time, and it was frustrating. Oh my god, I wanted to press fast forward right then and there. There was no reason for it. There was absolutely no reason for the shot to be like that. It didn't need to be that slow. If they wanted to do the 360, they could have sped it up by like 2 times, and it still would have been like a minute of turning, and it would have got the point across. It's just, there was times that had shots like that just didn't add anything to it and just made it kind of like a headache for no reason. Overall, though, I think the movie is fantastic. This is not a movie for everybody. It's a slow movie, for sure, but I think it tells a really interesting story, and if you really stop and think about it, it tells a really profound narrative on honor. Without giving too much away with what the movie's actually about, and everyone's going to have their own interpretation, but the way I interpreted the movie, it was Gawain's journey to be a more honorable man, and throughout his adventure, he's tested in a multitude of ways. Whether or not he fails, you'd have to watch it to find out. But I think it does a really good job. It doesn't beat the message into you. In fact, it does very little to even feed you a message or even really tell you a story. It's just connecting, or barely connecting, a series of adventures that Gawain experiences. He made a deal when the Green Knight challenged him to a game, and he intends to honor it to the best of his ability. And I just really think it was a very interesting and very, very well executed movie. I enjoyed it. I do think it's a movie that not everyone's going to like, of course. I know some people are expecting it to be more action-oriented. It's not. In fact, there is no action. There isn't a single scene of action in this film, and I am totally fine with that. In fact, I think if there was action, it would take away from the movie. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug the Green Knight into the moist meter. I'm going to give this an 80%, like a hard 80%, really close to 85, but I'm going to get into spoilers now, so spoiler warning. The reason that I don't want to put it any higher is because I think it gets too ambiguous and smelling of its own farts. For example, the Green Knight is summoned by Gawain's mother, or at least that's what you're led to believe, because her and some others summon the Green Knight, supposedly, by writing a letter, sealing it. The Green Knight shows up with that same letter right after they finish their ritual, so, I mean, there's clearly a connection there, and it's never explained why she summoned the Green Knight. It doesn't seem like she wanted Gawain to die or anything on a journey. It doesn't seem like she even really wanted to challenge Gawain at all if he was even a part of the Green Knight's mission. So it just leaves so many questions as to, well, why did she summon the Green Knight? What was the point? There was just no indication at all as to what her motive was. And I've only seen speculation and theories online with no real evidence to support it, except for a couple, like some of them saying she wanted Gawain to be a more honorable man, so she summoned the Green Knight hoping that Gawain would pick up the challenge and become a better knight or something and then take the throne. But this is all just guessing. There's really nothing in the movie that leads you to believe that was the motive. There's nothing subtle hidden in there that I could pick up on. Maybe I'm too dumb. But if you can't answer the question of why was the Green Knight there, which is the whole fucking, plot device of the movie, the whole thing that starts the narrative, well, then it doesn't work that well. You just have to accept, okay, he's there for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. Everything that matters is him getting there. I just think it's a huge misstep not at least giving some kind of guidance to the motive of the Green Knight being there and why Gawain's mother summoned him. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about here for the spoilers without giving too much away is I don't even understand why this fucking happened in the first place. Like, why they even accepted the challenge. Just randomly during Christmas celebration, fucking goofy-ass Groot comes in, the Green Knight. He's like, hey, indulge me in a game. One of your knights strike me down. And then in doing so in a year, I'm going to strike them down. And they're like, of course, we have to do this now, because he asked. Like all of a sudden, it's a huge deal. So then he, just goes there and throws the match, just GG, gets his head chopped off, he's still alive. He's like, okay, now it's your turn in a year. They're like, okay, good, glad we solved that. But why even accept that? Why not you be like, get the fuck out? No, we don't want to play your game. We're not going to indulge you. Leave. Like, there was no repercussions for saying no. It's not like, you will play my game or else your kingdom will burn. There was none of that. It was just, will you play a game with me? Yes? Oh, great. Like, there wasn't any reason to say yes. They could just say, get the fuck out. That makes it sound like anyone in the entire kingdom could have just come up and be like, I want to be king, and let's battle for it. And they'd, by honor, have to say yes and just fight everyone that challenges them. Instead of just saying, no, get out. Just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like they could have just excused him. So I think that was a bit weak, too. There should have at least been a repercussion for saying no. But there wasn't. So, yeah. And also, last thing, seriously this time. And also, why does the entire world know that Gawain sliced the head off of the Green Knight? Nobody knew who the Green Knight was until Gawain killed him, and they're acting like he was some kind of hero. For a whole year, they were just sucking his dick. Like, not just the immediate area around him, but the whole of everyone you see knows about the Green Knight all of a sudden, and how Gawain is the hero that chopped his head off. It's like, well, what the fuck do you mean? Nobody had heard of him before this, at least not that I picked up on. I didn't hear anyone be like, oh my god, it's the Green Knight. You know who this is? This is the Green Knight. No, they were just like, who's this guy? Okay, we'll play this game. And then he plays the game exactly how it's supposed to be played. And they're like, hero, my god, you've done it, Gawain. Even though it was an open invitation for anyone to just kill him. So, I don't know. That also didn't really make too much sense to me. But again, this is an adaptation of just an old poem or something like that, like an old fairy tale, so of course it's not going to be like the most, bulletproof plot of all time, and I think it was trying to be really true to that nature of storytelling where it's like you just have to excuse some things, like there's going to be characters that come out of nowhere, there's going to be things that come out of nowhere, and you have to accept that and just enjoy the ride, which I'm able to do, but I still do want to at least point it out since it's a movie and not a fucking 10,000-year-old poem now, so I just wanted to talk about that. Again, I think it is a very good movie, and I enjoyed it. That's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Old. I'm not the biggest M. Night fan. I do like some of his movies and dislike others. Pretty much the same opinion everyone has of him. He'll sometimes make the worst movie you've ever seen in your entire fucking life with Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then sometimes make a good movie like with Split. So he's always just going back and forth between dog shit and not dog shit. So where does Old land on this spectrum? Somewhere in between dog shit and good, so like in that limbo, that purgatory, so maybe like dog urine. I want to make it clear, I don't think it's a bad movie. I actually really like the concept. It's just a bunch of people trapped on a small beach where they're aging rapidly. I think it's a really interesting and unique story idea, but it's so full of what makes M. Night's bad movies so bad that it takes away from it sometimes, which is awful dialogue. Like, the characters in M. Night movies sometimes just become like fucking like Google search engines that just verbalize the entire exposition to you. Like, if you looked up a plot synopsis and then fed it to the actor to say out loud, if that makes any sense. Like, for some reason, they just don't talk like human beings in some of his movies, and this is a good example of that. Like, they'll gather all the characters on this beach, and they're starting to figure out, what's going on here. Like, something is afoot. My 6-year-old is now 6'5", and he's like 40 years old. This is getting a little peculiar. And then they'll just go through like all of these crazy steps, like, okay, well, using what I understand about thermodynamics and ancient Egyptian curses, I'm able to deduce exactly what is going on this island to perfect accuracy. And then all the other characters will chime in, yes, he's absolutely correct, he's 100% right. And now I work at a museum, so I actually understand rocks quite a bit, so these rocks are actually magical rocks blessed by a wizard from the old King Arthur days. And it's like, the characters don't converse with each other. They like spit exposition back and forth, just like vomiting into each other's mouths, Two Girls, One Cup style. Like, they're never at any point do you feel like you're watching two characters talking. It's like a battle of who can dump the most exposition out of their mouths the quickest. But when they're not talking, I think that's when the movie's at its best. Because you have a really, like, pretty disturbing premise of these people are aging fucking 50 years over the course of 24 hours. Like, they are aging quick, and I think that as a plot device is really interesting to most people. Like, some of these kids, they were 6 years old, and then in 5 hours, now they're in their 20s. They are physically 20, but they still have the mind of that 6-year-old. So it's a pretty fucked up situation. People die and start decomposing almost immediately. If they get like a broken arm or something, it starts to heal broken unless they set it. Like, there is a lot of disturbing things that happen with the premise, and I think it's a really interesting idea. And you're constantly wondering, well, how the fuck do they get out of here? Because they try the most logical stuff in the beginning, I'd say. Just leave the way they came, but they have an explanation for why that doesn't work. Maybe try climbing over the rocks. Well, they have an explanation for why that might not work. Try swimming away. Everything has an explanation for why this beach is really hard to leave. So you're always wondering, well, how the fuck are they going to get out? And I think they do a good job of creating tense situations, because there's characters on the beach that you might not be able to trust because they have something going on that leads to them maybe being a danger to everyone else in the group. So I think there's a lot of things that work in this movie, but a lot of things that take away from it too. Without getting too deep into the spoilers here, I think the ending of the movie it kind of falls apart. I like the idea he had with how to end it, but I think he was just too afraid to actually end the movie in like a good spot. So instead, like, writes himself into a corner, and the ending kind of falls apart, and it kind of throws away a little bit of like what actually the mystery of what was going on there. I just feel like there was just at the end so many like lucky breaks that it gets silly, and then to wrap up the way that it didn't match the rest of the movie, in my opinion. I can't really get into it without talking about spoilers, and I'm still debating on whether or not to do like a section of these moist meters for a spoiler talk so I can actually get into it. Haven't decided yet, so I'm not going to bother with this one. But yeah, overall I did enjoy the movie, but it's far from like a great or perfect film. But I definitely think it is an entertaining one with some interesting things in it. Plugging Old into the moist meter, I'm giving it a 60%. I feel like this movie would have really benefited from someone being there and just slapping the pencil out of M. Night's hand every time he went to write character dialogue. I think that would have really helped elevate the movie a bit higher and maybe play to its strengths a bit more. I really just think someone needs to go over the dialogue that M. Night writes and change it, make it work, because that is a seriously lacking element to his movies, I would say. At least recently. But anyway, I still think it is a fun movie to watch. Now I'd like to talk about Helix mattresses. One of the most important things you'll ever buy in your life is a mattress. I'm sure you've heard that a million times from everyone you've ever met, and it's extremely true. You're going to be sleeping on it every night, every single day. So it's extremely important you pick one that matches your body type, and everyone's body is different. For me personally, the old mattress I used was just a little too soft, so it led to lower back pain. And then I found Helix mattresses, which give you a nice, unique sleep quiz, which will pretty much match you with your ideal mattress, whether it's like a harder mattress, a softer one, just to fit your unique body type. And for me, I needed something a little bit more firm, and since then, I haven't had that problem. Helix mattresses are super convenient because they're delivered right to your door, just rolled up in a box, and it's just super quick to get them out. It basically unpacks itself. So that's really nice, so we don't have to struggle with that. Also, if it makes you nervous to buy something you haven't tried yet, Helix mattresses offer a 100-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you love it, and if you don't, they'll just pick it up for you and you get a full refund. So if you're interested in trying a Helix mattress, you can go to helixsleep.com/moist to get up to $200 off your Helix mattress plus 2 free pillows. That's helixsleep.com/moist for up to $200 off and 2 free pillows. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Bo Burnham's new special, Inside. This is an extremely impressive piece. It's all done by Bo Burnham himself. The filming, the editing, the music, all of it soloed by Bo. Fucking incredible stuff. It's often been said that Bo Burnham has the strength of 10 full-grown men, but with this special he's proved he also has the talent of 10 fully trained producers. When I first heard what this special was about in a nutshell, where it's just Bo Burnham in his room alone with a camera, I expected it to look like a video I'd make where I just sit here fucking limp dick in hand talking to a webcam like a $5 production, but that's not at all what you get with Inside. This looks like an entire full-blown production, lights, camera, and crew, but it's not. It's Bo. He uses extremely clever shots, it's framed beautifully, and it's really rapid too during the songs. There's always a lot going on with him changing backgrounds on the fly using pedals, or just having a lot of different lights going on at different times. He makes so much happen with so little. And it really does look like a full studio is behind the production, so it's extremely impressive what he's able to capture here. It's not just like boring static shots of him sitting in a room. There are some shots where it's him in a room, but it's usually there to just deliver the idea that you are watching a miserable guy. That's kind of like the theme of this. You are watching one guy who's not happy live his life and then occasionally try and make you laugh, even though he himself doesn't seem to be very happy. It's pretty sad. I know some people call it a deranged masterpiece. I think that's going a bit far. There's nothing really deranged about it. It's an extremely normal guy going through hardship, and you watch it as a spectator, and sometimes you point and laugh at it because he wants you to, and he's good at making you do that. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a great comedy. There's no moments during this where I just busted a gut laughing, just like fucking Santa Claus belly laughing at it, slapping my knee. But there's some very clever jokes in there, and the songs that he makes are bangers. His songs are extremely catchy. My favorite song is the sexting song he made. I thought that one could be something that'd be bumping at a club right now. Second favorite was the song about the internet, everything, all the time. All of them are good. There's no real bad songs in there, but they're not all gonna make you like laugh out loud or anything, and I don't think that's what he was trying to do either. I feel like a lot of people are gonna resonate with the character being Bo in this case, and see a lot of their own personal experiences reflected in this special. He immediately comes out of the gate, raw, no rubber, telling you straight up it's going to be all over the place, and it is. There's really nothing that connects one scene to another scene here. It's just a lot of different things all put together, and it really is just like a look at one guy's unhappy experience being inside so much. And I feel like a lot of people will relate to a lot of what they see and hear from him, especially when it comes to just like the general gist of making goofy songs while alone. Like I do that shit all the time, and sometimes I even write down the lyrics. Like I've had this down here for like a year. I'm talking curtains of beef, vaginal queef, labia look like a Christmas wreath. Yeah. Like I write that shit down because I just come up with like dumb lyrics sometimes and then just put it down. And I feel like a lot of people do that. The name of that song was Ass and Titties or some shit. I don't remember what I was calling it. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of people will see this and be like, oh yeah, I get that. But I also feel like a lot of people will watch it and completely miss the point or just not be super interested in it. Because like I said, it is all over the place. There's not like a story to be told here where you follow a hero's journey to slay a dragon and fuck a girl in the ass or something. Like, it's just a very matter-of-fact look at a guy who's very upfront with how unhappy he is throughout the entirety of it. I also think he's extremely honest when he says, I'm doing this because the work keeps me distracted. I really believe that's 100% what this project was. He wanted to kind of go back into comedy, but then the quarantine hits and he just drowns himself in the work being this special. He wanted to do this and he kept himself focused on it. So he really put everything into this production and he did it for a full year. And when it was nearing the end, he got very sad because then he wouldn't have the work to focus on and he really needed the distraction. Like, I really think it's a pretty genuine look at Bo Burnham and probably a pretty important look for a lot of other people that might be feeling similar things. It's just really well done, it's impressive, it's honest, and it's really well put together, especially as a one-man production. But I do feel like not everyone's going to appreciate it because, again, it's not the greatest comedy. A lot of it's not even focused on making you laugh. So for the people going in here expecting like a hardcore focused comedy, I think they might leave a bit disappointed if they're not open to the idea of Inside and what it actually aims to deliver. So plugging Bo Burnham's Inside into the Moist meter, I'm giving it an 80%. I think it's an extremely impressive piece that is not going to be for everybody. I enjoyed it, and I thought pretty much all the songs were actual fucking fire, just straight boner jams, but I don't think everyone's going to feel the same way about it. And I feel like because it's not a hardcore comedy, people will just write it off as some pretentious art piece, which I really think is a disservice to the film. I don't think it really gets into pretentious territory or anything. I think it's just an honest, genuine look at Bo Burnham alone, writing jokes, writing songs, and just getting through quarantine. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah, now let's talk about Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is heaven for anime fans. They have pretty much every anime that you're thinking of right now on their service. Crunchyroll Premium also offers a ad-free experience. You get unlimited anime, manga, drama titles, and you get the newest episodes an hour after they air in Japan with simulcast. All the episodes are professionally subtitled, all coming in at a crisp, beautiful 1080p HD, access on all devices, Xbox, PlayStation, Android, Roku, Apple TV. Also, I'd recommend Attack on Titan, especially if you're pretty new to anime or just looking to find something to jump into. Attack on Titan, I think, is just an incredible show that you should watch on Crunchyroll when you get the chance to. It's where I watch all of my anime for the most part. It just has pretty much any show I can think of. There's also different tiers of membership to choose from on Crunchyroll. They're all going to give you an ad-free experience, of course, but then something like Megafan also allows you to do offline viewing, as well as being able to stream it on up to 4 devices at a time. So there's different levels that you can choose from. So if you want to try Crunchyroll, you can get Crunchyroll ad-free for 14 days by signing up at crunchyroll.com/penguinz0 or just clicking the link in the description below. That's 14 days ad-free of Crunchyroll by clicking the link down below or going to crunchyroll.com/penguinz0. That's it. So yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Raycon.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Hamilton, which just went to Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus is like a 50% on the Moist Meter. Like, their exclusives are kind of cool, like The Mandalorian, but without those coming out, there's like no fucking reason to have Disney Plus unless you're just like a fanatic who's gonna watch every Disney movie like 20 times a month. There's just not a whole lot on there, but I think bringing Hamilton there was really cool. That's unique content to Disney Plus, exclusive, and it was nice. I'm not a guy who likes plays. I've only seen a handful of plays. The biggest one I've seen is Phantom of the Opera, and I thought that was straight ass cheeks. I just didn't really enjoy it, and I didn't really have high expectations of Hamilton going into it. I know it has a lot of hype around it. Knew nothing about it, but I went in there and was actually blown away by the music and the presentation. By presentation, I mean the way the story is told. It is entirely in raps and rhymes for the most part. Like, there's very few times where lines aren't raps. And I thought that was really, really impressive considering it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, I think. So that is a lot of fucking bars that are being spit constantly. I genuinely can't understand how the actors could even remember that many lines and to actually get it that accurate. Like every single rhyme is right on beat, everything is fucking perfect. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Hats off to every actor, every cast member involved in this production, because it really is super impressive what they were able to accomplish on that front. So yeah, the music, the most important part of the musical is extraordinary in this, and I was expecting it to be like every other musical where all the music just kind of sounds like the same. I really feel like, and this is probably just me because maybe I'm just not a musical guy, but I feel like the majority of musicals have like the same formula for the songs, and they just don't really deviate from that established formula. So it just feels like a Red Hot Chili Peppers album where every song just bleeds into the next one and you don't know where one song ended and the next one began. That's how I feel about musicals, where it's just kind of like the exact same song across multiple musicals. But in Hamilton, it really breaks that mold and everything is different in the show. Every song is super unique and there are some actual bangers in Hamilton. I had a lot of them stuck in my head. It's really impressive. The musicals in here, the actual musical numbers are really, really good. And the acting is fine. It's not something that I even really paid attention to too much in Hamilton because I felt like I was more just watching a concert than a story, which isn't a real complaint, but I don't know what the goal of Hamilton is, whether it's to tell you a story or just feed you some great music. If it's to feed you a story, I don't think it really succeeds on that front because oftentimes it's not showing you anything. It's telling you the story. It's like an audiobook reading the story to you through their great music. There's not a whole lot of stuff going on visually that's portraying a fight or, what they're actually even rapping about. It's just them rapping it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because the music is so good, but it does feel more like a concert than an actual story. Now, obviously there's a story here and the lyrics tell the whole story, so you do get a narrative, but you're not watching a narrative. You are listening to it. That's not to say that the visuals or anything are bad or the acting or anything is bad. It's just plays a secondary role to just the music. I think the costuming looks very nice. I really appreciate that. And even the set, I thought the set was fantastic, and I especially love in the middle of the set how it spins around and shit. So you get some cool effects during some certain moments, but it's not like that's really utilized to show you a story. For example, they're talking about a battle, but you don't really see a battle, you just see some dancing and them rapping about what's happening with the battle and stuff like that. And I just feel like maybe there could have been more there where they actually show you some of the things they're rapping about as opposed to just telling you, hey, this is how it happened, this is what's happening, and this is what happened as a result of this, instead of just letting you see it on the stage. But again, maybe that's just me. I'm not the most seasoned veteran when it comes to watching musicals, so I don't fucking know. Maybe I'm just a fucking idiot who just wanted to see more visuals here when really the musical is just genuinely all about the music. And if that's the case, then this absolutely excels in that department because I love the music. I just couldn't help but feel like I missed out on, seeing the story they were telling. The lyrics and the rapping made it sound like such an interesting story that I wanted to see more of the story as opposed to just hear more about it. But yeah, again, I really enjoyed Hamilton far more than I thought I would. I thought this would just be another forgettable play that I saw one time and totally forgot ever existed until I accidentally remember it during a dream or something like, oh, fuck, yeah, I did see that play, didn't I? That does exist, doesn't it? But this is definitely something I'm going to remember. The songs I'm still humming right now. The fucking Room Where It Happened is a really catchy banger. It was a really pleasant experience. I enjoyed it, and I think Disney Plus should offer more shit like that if they want to be like a serious streaming service, as opposed to there's like a novelty that you throw one thing on one time and forget about. So plugging Hamilton into the Moist meter, I'm giving this bad boy a crisp 85. Really enjoyed it, and I think it was just a fun experience, a nice set of boner jams, really. I think it's long overdue that I mention the wonder of wireless earbuds, in particular Raycon. As I've mentioned many times, I've used Raycon when I'm working out, just staying active in general, whether it's running around for cardio or lifting weights. Having the wire dangling around is just a real nuisance, and often you just do a rep and accidentally yank that shit out anyway, which sucks. So I think having a nice set of Raycon earbuds helps with that, their best model being the everyday E25s. It's just a nice snug fit, it's not going to fall out on you, not going to get in your way. It's the same amazing quality from other premium audio brands, but coming in at half the price. So if you're interested in trying Raycon earbuds for yourself, you can go to buyraycon.com/moist to get 15% off your order. There's a link in the description. That's buyraycon.com/moist for 15% off. That's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at King of Staten Island. I actually had no idea what this movie was going into it. I thought it was a crime movie with Pete Davidson as a minor character, like a fucking getaway driver or something. But it turns out it's an entire movie about Pete Davidson, and the only crime in this movie is some shitty tattoos. It's really good though. I really enjoyed this. Now, I'm not too familiar with Pete Davidson's work as a stand-up comic. I'm only really familiar with him from SNL, and I fucking hate SNL, so it's not like I'm a huge Pete Davidson fanboy, but after this, I am quite a fan. His performance in this movie is really good, both on the drama side of letting you see how emotionally vulnerable the character is and letting you kind of feel that, and just the comedy side, because some of the jokes are actual bangers. Not every joke is great, not every joke's gonna make you laugh out loud, piss your pants, you know, they're not all side splitters, but there definitely were a few that got a good giggle out of me from Pete Davidson and from Bill Burr, who's also in this movie with a big role. It's a talented cast and they do a great job. And this isn't the kind of movie I typically enjoy, these very character-focused pieces, because I feel they start to drag after a while, because a lot of it's just a character silently going through some very hard shit. But this movie does a great job of keeping it interesting with the comedy in it. And I think that's great. I do think it does drag a little, though. Admittedly, it's a little long. It's like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes, some shit like that. So it definitely is a little long. And the entire movie is watching Pete Davidson be a fucking loser and try and figure his shit out. Like, how long can you watch a man be a loser? If I wanted to watch a loser for 3 hours, I'd watch my old high school basketball tapes. But it's still good, and I still really enjoyed it. And a lot of the time in the movie, you're asking yourself, well, what's the goal? Where is the movie going? And it's not till the end of the movie you realize there was no goal. You're just watching this dude try and get his life together. In the movie, Pete Davidson plays a damaged man who's lost his father at a young age, and he's having a hard time coping both with that loss and trying to figure out where he wants to go in his life. And then his mother starts to move on, finds another man who's Bill Burr. Bill Burr's got a girthy cock, according to his ex-wife. So now Pete Davidson needs to come to terms with the fact that his mom is moving on and is now riding a turbo dick from Bill Burr. And it's a movie that has you very invested in the characters. I think it does a good job with every character and their dynamic. I also just think Pete Davidson's character, Scott, is a character a lot of people that watch this movie can relate to. Mid-20s, still not sure the direction they want to go in life, and just being dealt a bad hand. And it's all about finding ways to overcome that and still follow a dream. Yeah, actually not really, that's a bit of a reach. The movie's genuinely a montage of Pete Davidson being high and fucking up until the end, when there starts to become more of a purpose and something to glue everything together. After witnessing, Pete Davidson getting rim jobbed with the consequences of his fuck-ups, and he starts to finally find his footing and find a path. And I really just don't have any negative things to say about this movie. I enjoyed it. I had some good giggles. The only downside to the movie is its length. I think it's definitely longer than it needs to be. It feels like it was stretched out just for the sake of just getting a little bit more Pete Davidson, Bill Burr action in there, which isn't the worst thing, but I do think it is longer than it should have been. And I want to say again, I've mentioned it before, I love that the new movies are going to streaming instead of theaters, since theaters are extinct now, because I got to pause this movie and take a shit during it, which I just can't do if I went to a movie theater, because then I'd miss too much of the movie. So I have to hold in my shit like I'm smuggling drugs in my ass for the last hour of the movie, and then I have to drive home uncomfortable, fucking borderline shitting my pants the entire journey home. Whereas watching it on TV, just pause it, go drop my steaming loaf, come back, don't miss a thing. It is fantastic. So I think that's great too. Plugging this movie into the Moist Meter, I'm giving King of Staten Island a nice 85%. It's a movie that I really enjoyed. There's really nothing overly negative to say about it. I don't think it's like a must-see movie or anything like that, but I think it's a very good movie in what it wants to be. As a dramedy, it excels, in my opinion, and I think the character is a very strong character that I think will resonate with a lot of people who do watch the movie. And Pete Davidson, Bill Burr in particular, they absolutely crush it in this. So, yeah, just a good movie overall. That's it. So yeah.
This episode was brought to you by Surfshark. For 83% off a 2-year plan, visit surfshark.deals/penguin.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Tiger King, the new Netflix documentary series that has got the internet by its colon. I have heard so much about Tiger King but had no idea what it was going into it. With the way people hyped it up, I actually thought it was a reality show that was just kind of like a goofy, wild joke like Trailer Park Boys, but because it's set in Tampa in certain parts, more bath salts. It turns out that's not the case. It is a documentary that has tons of twists and turns, and it is a genuinely riveting tale that I absolutely just got hooked on. Now, full disclosure, I've actually been to the Big Cat Rescue, which is a focal point in the documentary, with Carol Baskins being one of the three main characters that they focus on. In this documentary, without spoiling anything, there is no good guys in it. There is no one that you can really root for, get the foam finger out and cheer for or anything like that. Everyone does some shitty shit, some real sketchy, shady business goes on, and it's not something you'd expect. And the places it goes get really dark really quickly. It's just this wild scheme of crazy shit that happens. Now, I do want to say, I think the show has been overhyped. With the way it was described to me during streams, I have expected aliens to come in by episode 4 or 5 and start taking the stage and playing a role, like the puppeteers making them dance or something. So I do think the hype is a little fucking crazy, and it doesn't live up to that. But that's to be expected when something reaches this level of hype. You have people going around fucking forming urban legends about it, like, when you watch Tiger King, you'll never be the same. Are tigers even real? I don't know anymore after watching Tiger King. Oh, I bet reptilians are real. I saw Tiger King, I'm kind of enlightened now. She did it. Oh, sorry, I forgot you hadn't seen Tiger King. That doesn't make any sense to you, huh, you fucking idiot? If you go in expecting that level of, like, godhood and just mystifying action, you're not gonna find it with Tiger King. I think the hype train on it is really extreme for what it is, but for what it actually is really entertaining. I really did enjoy it, start to finish. Like I mentioned earlier, I've actually been to the Big Cat Rescue, and from what I experienced when going there, it seemed like a really wholesome facility, and pretty much all the staff seemed like genuinely good people. Granted, Carol Baskins wasn't haunting the grounds that day or walking around or anything, so I have no experience personally with her. So all I can say is I did appreciate what I saw at the Big Cat Rescue, and from what I've heard and what I've been told, the actual work done there is good. But, I mean, after seeing Tiger King, it's hard to really support pretty much anything in there after seeing just what kind of crazy shit goes on behind the scenes. It is really an eye-opening documentary, as well as just a genuinely entertaining one, and just a pretty wild ride. It's one that I can't really get too deep into without spoiling things for you, but it goes places you would never expect given the premise of the show. So, I'm just going to say I think it's absolutely worth your time if you're interested in a pretty interesting story that's true, and just a really well-produced documentary. Plugging Tiger King into the Moist Meter, I'm giving this bad boy a fat old 90%. I do think it is a very good show, a very interesting one, and one that really will have heads turning, as it clearly has been on the internet for like the last week. Now, I think it's time to mention something equally as dangerous as caring for tigers, the internet. As we've talked about before, the internet is a scary place. There's plenty of horror stories to go around. I don't need to put the wet nightmares and the fear of God in you telling you more. That's why I'm going to talk about Surfshark again. Surfshark is a VPN, a very robust VPN with a lot of interesting features and some very good things. I'm sure we're all familiar with VPNs these days because it's pretty much a necessity around these parts, because as the internet continues to evolve, so too do a lot of negative things about it. And VPNs like Surfshark really help alleviate that problem, that fear. When using Surfshark, all of your data is encrypted that you send online, and also it helps just in general entertainment. Let's say there's something exclusive to a Netflix region that you're not a part of, you can use Surfshark VPN, change your location and get access to that, and just have a good old time kicking back and watching something on there. I think VPNs, I don't even need to preach to you just how effective they are and what good they do. It keeps prying eyes away from your data. Surfshark doesn't even have your data. It's just an extremely helpful tool, especially given the current climate of the internet. So I'd highly recommend using Surfshark VPN for all of your VPN needs. If you're interested in checking it out, you can find it at surfshark.deal/penguin to get 83% off of a 2-year plan plus a free month. That's surfshark.deal/penguin, 83% off a 2-year plan and a free fucking month, baby.
Initiating moisture.
Yeah, this movie is fucking great. Chances are you don't know anything about Parasite, haven't seen anything from it, unless you've seen people online constantly praising it and jerking off about it. But they're jerking off for a good reason. This movie is magnificent. In essence, the movie is about rich versus poor. You have a less fortunate family and a very fortunate, very wealthy 1% family. And at some point, one of the children from the less fortunate family begins tutoring the daughter of the rich family and begins to brew a scheme to exploit them. The first half of the movie is spent setting up the difference between the two classes. They use a lot of humor during this period, and the humor for the most part lands. Some jokes fall flat, it could be a translation thing, but for the most part the humor's on point. They immediately show you what it's like being on the bottom of the food chain. They have them, trying to steal Wi-Fi from upstairs. There's a fumigation crew going around. They keep the windows open so the fucking chemicals blow in while they're folding pizza boxes, so that way they get free fumigation. They are not doing well. They're just struggling to get by. There's drunk people pissing on their property, damn near using the drunk man's urine as a shower to save money on water. It is not a good living situation, but at some point, the son gets a break and gets to tutor a rich family for pay. When you see the rich family, it's totally different. It's beautiful. It's an incredible landscape, and quite literally, the difference in their social status is shown just in the altitude of where they live. The less fortunate family lives in a basement. The rich family lives in a hilltop mansion. And this changes their perspective on things drastically. For example, a biblical rainstorm blows in, one that would make Moses wet his pants in fear, comes in, and the rich family just views it as just a beautiful thing put there for their own entertainment. This storm is a blessing, they say in the movie. It looks great through their windows. Their son goes out camping in it because to them, it's no big deal. It's just a cute little storm. But to the less fortunate family, that shit is disaster because it floods their home, their basement. It gets ruined. Sewage spraying everywhere. The fucking toilets overflowing, spewing shit out like some type of volcanic eruption of ass feces. It's very different. And they do a great job of showing you all of these things. There's so much attention to detail and so many great shots to establish these things. Even just something as simple as going from the rich house to their own place. The difference in the journey. They have to go down like fucking 50 flights of stairs, like it's a reverse Rocky montage, going from the top of the food chain back down to the basement. It's just a really cleverly made movie that does a great job of bringing you into the universe and making you care about the characters. And they don't set up the rich families like some evil, cartoonishly mustache-twirling evil villains, spitting on the poor. Get away from me. Oh, I must wash my hands now because it was near poverty. Oh my goodness. I won't shit right for a week. I'll have to have 2 maidens wipe my ass. They don't do that. They actually have you care about that family as well. But it shows you the difference, even in the unintentional elitism. It is just so well crafted. I can't gush about this movie enough. The acting is on point as well. It's so good. I really, really cared about pretty much every character, and their performances were super fucking solid. What I imagine the biggest turnoff will be for this movie is it's entirely subtitles. Unless you speak the language, you're going to be reading subtitles the entire movie. So if you're unaccustomed to that, like if you don't watch anime, if you haven't opened your third eye and started anime yet, you're not going to be used to reading subtitles in a movie, I imagine. And for a lot of people, that's probably a turnoff. But I definitely think it's worth it, even if this is your first time reading subtitles in a movie, going in a subtitle virgin, the subs crew coming in. It's definitely worth it. This movie, it has such a clever story to tell. Its humor is great. And at the second half of the movie, there's a tonal shift, a huge turning point where it gets very dark and very serious, very real. And I didn't expect it, and it was so great. It's just this whole movie is really, really good. Plugging Parasite into the moist meter, I'm giving it a 95%. For me, it's tied for my favorite movie of the year, tied with Joker. I really can't decide which I like more. They're both great movies. Parasite, though, is something entirely unique that I haven't seen before. I'm unfamiliar with the work of Bong Joon-ho, the director of this piece. The only film I've seen from him is Snowpiercer, which I liked, but he has a whole catalog of bangers, which I'm probably going to go visit for the first time after seeing this, because this was just such an incredible display of talent, just across the board. Writing, cinematography, just everything. It nails it. It is a great movie that I can't recommend enough. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
I think it's important to separate art from the artist, and in the case of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I had to make this necessary distinction between the two because I do not like Quentin Tarantino. Not that I don't like his work, I think he's just a fucking psychopath. And saying you don't like Quentin Tarantino on the internet is like committing suicide because he's so revered, which I find super odd, especially in the current climate of things with cancel culture. This dude has done everything shy of rape and murder one of the actresses on his sets. For instance, he strangles Diane Kruger in Inglourious Bastards to get a realistic looking strangulation because he didn't trust the actor to be too gentle. He wanted to go hard to make it look right. He strangled Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. He spit on her. And also he nearly killed her, just outright murdered her by making her drive a car with no airbags, no seatbelt, some decrepit headrest literally held together by duct tape and goodwill. Had her drive it down this fucking stunt course like Evel Knievel, and she got into a really bad accident that she still suffers from. The dude's a maniac. So I don't like Quentin Tarantino. His work, different story. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I had to set that aside and look at this objectively. And to be honest, the movie's still not even great. It's definitely one of his weaker movies. It's not an overall horrible or shitty movie by any means, but it's a movie that is entirely carried by its cast. It has a really stacked cast, and they're the only good thing in this movie. This movie is devoid of a plot. You will not find a narrative in this movie. It is not structured that way. You'll find a theme, which is about coping with the changing times, you being less useful in society, you coming to terms with it. It's about the struggle of accepting that fate, and that's really just about it. Everything else is kind of just characters talking to each other. There's no overarching plot. There's nothing that drives the characters. There's really just not a whole lot here in terms of substance. That being said, there's a lot of cool shit in the movie too. I like the way a lot of the scenes are shot. I like the set design. It really does feel like you're watching an old movie. This doesn't feel like a modern movie in even the slightest bit. I really, really like when they got into like an actual old Western because the movie takes place basically around this character whose bread and butter was old Westerns. And he got a new role and they're filming it and you're getting to watch this old Western being filmed while you're watching the film from the outside. So you get to see them saying like cut and shit in the scene, and then it goes right back to the movie. So you're watching like a movie within a movie. It's very nicely done. And I enjoyed that. Brad Pitt, I think, was phenomenal in this movie. But overall, the entire first 2.5 hours of this movie, because it's nearly a 3-hour movie, is just uninteresting, boring. It's just not enjoyable. You'll have things that seem like they're going somewhere. For example, tension will start building up on a ranch. It's starting to build up, reaching the crescendo. You got your dick in your hand and you're ready to see anything at all happen in this movie. And then nothing happens. Walks away. End of plot line. You never see those characters again. Nothing ever comes of it. Until like the last 15 minutes, you have nothing. No plot lines get resolved. Really nothing happens. There's almost no conflict or tension past that point. There's just literal nothingness. A void of entertainment. It's supposed to be heavily reliant on comedy, but Brad Pitt is the only one who does comedy in this movie and does it well. He is the only character that executes it in a decent fashion. Sometimes Leonardo DiCaprio's character comes across comedic, but that's just because of how serious the character is, and I think they do a good job with that sometimes, but overall the comedy doesn't land either, so it doesn't have that crutch to lean on either. The last 15 minutes, though, is spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. That was the only good part of the movie, and it was a really fucking good part. All the comedy works in the last 15 minutes. All of the actual shit going on works. It's shot so well. It's grisly. It's really, really enjoyable. But was it worth the tiresome journey to get to that point? Absolutely not. In addition to this, there's a character in this movie who has a lot of screen time, Margot Robbie's character, Sharon Tate. She has a lot of screen time in this movie, but she doesn't do anything in the movie. Literally, the entire character could have been non-existent and the movie would have done the exact same thing, gone the same places. She influences not a single thing in this entire movie. I don't understand what the purpose of her character being there was. I understand it's maybe working the angle for Charles Manson because Sharon Tate was an actual figure, but Charles Manson doesn't have a role in this movie at all. He's just kind of hinted at occasionally. There's just nothing. This is a movie of actual nothingness, just hanging out. They show you a lot of movies, though. There's a lot of movies within this movie that you get little glimpses of and you get to take peeks behind. I appreciate that, but if there's nothing to hold that together, no narrative to get us there, no reason to see these things, it's uninteresting. It's just downright unfun. And now I understand what Tarantino probably wanted to do is completely break apart what a movie is, because movies are structured. You have a story, narrative, character, tension, climax, resolution. Those are simple ingredients to this fucking stew that we call movies. And there's a reason those ingredients are there, because that leads to a satisfying experience. You can play with these ingredients in all types of different ways. And I think it's unlimited the possibilities you can do with those things. But to just get rid of all of those things and make a movie where it's nothing but inside jokes, if you work in Hollywood, I guess, and sometimes occasionally something happening, it doesn't work. Because most people aren't in the movie making business. They don't understand the inside jokes you're making. This seems like a movie that only Tarantino and the higher up Hollywood elites, his buddy Weinstein, it seems like the only kind of people that would enjoy this are the people that get that understand, oh, haha, movie making humor. It really just doesn't work. If this had a narrative to hold it together, or any semblance of anything happening or building up to something that actually happened, the movie would probably be pretty fucking good. Because, like I said, there's a lot of elements in this that do work well when they're showing you a movie within a movie. It's just so well acted, too. I can't stress that enough. I fucking love Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Rick Dalton, and I also love Brad Pitt's character. It's just the problem is there's no reason or no drive for these characters to get to where they get to in the movie. You just sit there, watch them talk, which sometimes is okay and tolerable, but other times just borders on insufferable and can't wait to get the fuck out of there. It's not a very good movie. I wouldn't even call it a movie. It's like an anti-movie at this point. I really just don't even know what to classify this as. The last 15 minutes, I think at the end he decided, yeah, this is kind of sucks. I'm going to do a little something to make this interesting. And then he did, and he killed it. But up until then, just everything was useless, including entire characters that didn't do anything for this movie. I just really can't stress enough how disappointing and just how outright robbed I feel of 3 hours. If you're going to do this like pretentious take on movie making, at least have the decency not to make it 3 hours long. At least make it something short so I don't have to sit there fucking finger up my ass waiting for it to end or waiting for anything to happen, and you're not going to give me that. You're not going to give me anything. You're just going to dribble a little bit of breadcrumbs occasionally and then slap them off the table. Nothing comes of it. At least make it short so I don't have to sit there for that long waiting for nothing. Plugging this into the moist meter, I'm giving it an even 50%. Now, I know that's really low for Quentin Tarantino, and the rampant, ball-sniffing Quentin Tarantino fanatics are going to be up in arms. Oh, Charlie simply just didn't get the message. This simpleton couldn't derive the remarkable theme and message behind Quentin Tarantino's pristine work. Oh, a sterling job done yet again from Tarantino. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a classic. It's not. The theme isn't that deep. In fact, the theme is beaten into your skull pretty goddamn early on in the movie. It's not a deep movie. It doesn't want to be a deep movie. You can probably pick it apart and try and find some shit that I don't think the movie ever meant to represent, because, again, the movie is more of just a breakdown of what a movie is expected to be. I think it was meant to subvert expectations, to really change how you view a movie, kind of just be this anti-movie. And it just doesn't work at all. Maybe if the writing was better, I really don't know what would have changed it around, but it just doesn't work. It's an overall disappointing movie. I think there's a reason why movies try and tell you a story, try to make you laugh, try and really do anything at all besides just have you look at characters talk to each other, because it doesn't come across as fun. And also, it doesn't tease you with things that might happen, because that's just always a letdown. That's like me going up to you and saying, hey, here, look at this car. This car might be for you. It's your birthday, right? Maybe it is for you. It's not for you, and then you fucking drive away in it. That person's obviously disappointed. They're not, oh, that's great. He subverted my expectations. He got my hopes up, and then he got them down. Solid work. No one's going to celebrate like that, because you go to a movie to experience something, to feel something, to be entertained. This doesn't do any of those things until the end. The end is super entertaining and really fucking fulfilling, but up until then, there's just nothing. And that's my biggest complaint. Incredible work from the actors, though. The acting is fucking nuts. That's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to a rare musical moist meter. I don't do these often. This is like finding a shiny Pokemon, but I felt fucking inspired after listening to Billie Eilish's new album. Now, most of you know that I mainly just listen to metal music and really obscure bands with like 200 views on YouTube and 10 subscribers, but I'm more than just a limp-dicked metal hipster. I also fuck with some pop music, and I've never fucked so hard with pop music as I do right now with Billie Eilish. Her shit slaps. So her new album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go, is a goddamn banger. That shit tickles my butthole from start to finish. There's a couple songs I don't care much for, but for the most part, that entire album, an absolute joy to listen to. She's got a very unique sound and a very recognizable style that really goes, I wouldn't say against the grain, but really is different from most of the shit you hear in the modern formulaic pop world. Modern pop is kind of like a hemorrhoid, and Billie Eilish is the preparation H healing it. I fucking loved the entire record, but I'm gonna go ahead and say the ones that I didn't really care for, I wasn't a fan of like the overly melancholy and slow songs like 8 or Listen Before I Go or I Love You. I don't think they were bad songs, but it's nothing I'd go back and listen to again. It just felt pretty, safe and something I've heard a million times before. Now, everything else, however, is very different from the shit I was used to from the pop world. My favorite song on here is Bury a Friend. That shit's a goddamn banger, and the music video is fucking nice too. That song gets stuck in my head so often. It is so good. I just really like that goddamn song. I love the horror undertones to it, and I really enjoy the beat and the vocal melody on top. The whole goddamn song is a masterpiece in pop. I also think Ilo Milo is a sleeper hit on this album. I haven't really heard anyone talk about that, but that shit bangs as well. I really, really like Ilo Milo. Like, the beat in that song sounds like something you'd hear in a 2007 YouTube tutorial, like 009 Sound System. It has like that same style of beat, but with really fast lyrics and a much faster beat. It's a very interesting sound that's pretty nostalgic. Even though it's a new song, it elicits a feeling of nostalgia and erection. It's a great goddamn song. I really like Ilo Milo. When the Party's Over is probably one most of you are familiar with. It's the one where she has like the black tears running down her face in the music video. I never much liked that song. It's not bad, again, but I don't much care for it. It's okay. I think the music video is good, but the song's just not my personal taste. I just think the album's at its weakest when it's doing that same formulaic, soft-spoken indie girl shit with no spins on it or anything like that. For example, Zanny kind of starts that same way, but then it takes it in a different direction with a really big bass, a huge hit, and a nice hook, and it kind of goes in a different direction. But some songs don't do that, and they stay down, the same shit we've heard a million times. You know what I'm talking about, I just want you in my wet dreams, that kind of shit. And that'll go on for a whole song, and it's not bad. I don't think it's bad sounding. It's just not my personal cup of tea. I find that just to be very by the numbers and safe. But I think overall this album hits like a motherfucker. Bad Guy, Zanny, Wish You Were Gay, Bury a Friend, Ilo Milo, My Strange Addiction, all of them so goddamn good. Some boner jams that I will no doubt be bumping for a while. So let's go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter, giving Billie Eilish's When We Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go a 75%. I don't often do moist meters for music, and I don't plan on making it a habit, but I just listened to this album, and goddamn it, I wanted to talk about it, because this shit is really impressive. For the first time in a real long time, I am a big fan of a modern pop artist, so fuck yeah. Good shit, Billie, if you're watching. Take it easy, everyone. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
What's fucking Black Mirror fans? Welcome to the Moist Meter, and today we're looking at Bandersnatch. Everyone's talking about this movie, so I made sure to check this shit out, and I absolutely don't regret it. I'm not a big Black Mirror fan, it was never my cup of cum, but I definitely was kind of excited to see this one after all the praise it's been getting, and goddamn does it live up to the hype. I really fucking enjoyed Bandersnatch. Super different from anything I've ever seen before. It's not like an entirely unique concept. There's games that have done it, as well as some shorts that have also done the whole interactive movie that changes with your decisions. It's like Telltale Games done right in a movie format. It is super fucking fun, and I thought it was going to be just kind of gimmicky. I thought it was going to be you make these choices, and in the end it really just doesn't matter. And to a certain extent, that's accurate. The whole thing preaches the illusion of choice and how you're never really in control. I appreciate that theme, and I think it plays it beautifully. Now, if you're like me, an elite ultra turbo gamer, you've been hurt by bad story-changing decision games like Mass Effect, where your decisions don't matter. You know, you make all these choices throughout the course of 3 games, and in the end, the only difference it makes is the color socks Commander Shepard is wearing in the final cutscene. So I know you've probably been hurt by that like I have, but this one does it so well, and the choices you make give you an entirely different viewing experience. And there's nice little Easter eggs that I'm sure haven't even all been discovered yet. It's fucking fantastic how well they've done this. The entire narrative of the story weaves into the choice making. The whole act of choosing your own adventure is woven into the narrative beautifully and becomes an integral part of the experience. All the characters are so well done. There's no bad characters in the entire movie. Fuck, I just really enjoyed this. There's almost nothing I can shit on here except for a couple of the choice playouts are kind of goofy. Sometimes you'll choose something and what you get is extremely silly. Like you'll choose drink your coffee, and instead what he does is he busts the fucking coffee mug in his hand and then throws shards of glass at his father or something. Sometimes you don't understand what's going to happen when you make that choice, which I guess plays into the you're not really in control, which is cool. The whole fucking movie is just really good. I really enjoyed everything about it, honestly. Fuck. It's hard for me to just start talking about this without spoiling anything. I think it's going to be very difficult for anyone to really properly review it, completely spoiler free, but I'm going to do my best and just let you know, this shit does decision-making narrative expertly. The few complaints I do have, though, are it kind of starts off a bit slow. It seems like the decisions you're going to be making are trivial ones that don't matter, and there's also a lot of hand-holding in the beginning. For example, you'll make a choice and the game will immediately end the movie will end and tell you to go back and make the other choice. I didn't quite like that, where it'll tell you need to make another choice and force you to, which I guess really isn't that big of a deal because you're probably going to go back and make the other choice anyway, unless you're fucking speedrunning Bandersnatch. I don't think the interactivity of this movie will be something that changes the game or anything. I feel like it really only works with this because the whole story was created around it, and the actual viewer interaction of the movie is played into the narrative of it. It calls attention to it, and you become a participant in the story. In fact, you become pretty much the villain of the story, the puppet master, which is fantastic. They've done a great job with that. And I don't really understand a lot of the complaints saying that it's overly gimmicky and it offers nothing, because this offers a lot more than most, start to finish movies, which is every fucking movie. I don't know why I'm putting that in a category. This offers almost what a video game does, which is extra hours of entertainment on top of what you've already experienced. And that's gotta count for something. I really enjoyed watching Bandersnatch and playing through multiple different endings. It was a lot of fucking fun, although some endings were better than others and some were just kind of dog shit, to be honest. It was super fucking enjoyable, very unique, and a great experience I'd recommend. Plugging this shit into the moist meter, I'm giving Bandersnatch a 90. Actually very fucking good, and I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. So fuck yeah, good shit. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Today's a big day for the moist meter. Today it loses its virginity in a new genre. The moist meter is going where no moisture measurement instrument has gone before, into the music world. There's not going to be a whole ton of musical moist meters, just occasionally. I wanted to talk about Eminem's surprise Kamikaze album because Eminem's a musical artist that had a profound effect on me growing up. I've always preferred metal, however I can appreciate other genres, and Eminem's music has always resonated with me, except for last year's album Revival. Revival was just stinky ass fuck. That album sounded like a whoopee cushion getting run over by an ice cream truck. It was just abhorrent. There was nothing good about it. I would have rather been listening to audio of 10 men pissing into one toilet, just listening to urine hit water, than listen to anything on that album. But I'm happy to say, Kamikaze is significantly better than Revival, which really isn't saying much, unfortunately. That's like saying, oh, this chicken parmesan you made is better than dog shit. Oh, cool, I'm glad you think that. That's really not much of a compliment, though, is it? So, let's talk about Kamikaze. This entire album is just a compilation of diss tracks. The lyricism is superb, as you would expect from Eminem, because he is quite literally the best lyricist in music history. So that it was no issue going into this album, and it is absolutely amazing the wordsmithing he's done in this one. However, it really is just diss tracks. There's really nothing here that stand out as an actual song except for Lucky You. Lucky You is the only actual song on this album, in my opinion. Everything else is like, oh, that was cool to hear once. Man, he really fucked up Lil Yachty, Lil Pump, Lil Xan with his words there. But I don't really want to hear it again. I've already heard it once, and it's not something I want to, wiggle my finger to or, tap my foot to, because it's not a song. It's just a flurry of insults that you'll hear once and be like, damn, and then be done. And they're not even really that great insults. It's not like hard-hitting. It's not very impactful. It's just like, oh, that was clever. Oh, you don't like them. Okay, so now I get that. That's every song on this album except Lucky You. And the diss tracks, they do sometimes have a hook. Most of them have a hook, actually, but it's very weak. The hook is super fucking weak. And it's probably because all the hooks are seemingly sarcastic. It seems like every hook is meant to just be kind of a jab at modern rap. At least that's how I interpreted it, because I don't want to believe that Eminem actually thought the hooks in some of these diss tracks were unironically good, because they're fucking laughable in some of them. The two weakest being Normal and Venom. Venom, I can't even express how fucking horrible that entire piece is. That's probably one of the worst Eminem songs I've ever heard. I'm gonna go ahead and sing you the chorus. Venom, 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 Venom. Not exaggerating, that's the hook of it. And I kind of belittled the album by just calling it all diss tracks, because when you hear diss tracks, it's synonymous with just shit. But these aren't shitty diss tracks. They're enjoyable to listen to, they're very well made, and the beats are fucking great. I really like the beats on across the board on this album. However, they are, again, diss tracks. So it's something you're going to hear once and you probably won't want to go back to. Like, how many people are still listening to diss tracks from 2004? It's good in its time, but it's not something that you're going to keep on your iPod or, oh Jesus, how fucking old am I? I still use an iPod, so I say iPod, but it's not something you're going to keep listening to, next year when all the beef is past. It's just not a song. It's just, here's something I don't like, and I'm going to tell you I don't like it in a fun way. That's fun to hear once. And that's good in an album, but it shouldn't be the entire album. Also, be prepared to hear him bitch and whine about how poorly Revival did in every single track on this album. That is a focal point of every song, is mentioning how awful and shitty Revival did. So get ready for that. Overall, though, I think the album is okay at best and good at points. I'm not a musical critic. I'm not going to sit here and break down each and every song and talk about, the notes hit, the different rhyming schemes and everything. I just want to talk about the overall product here and what to expect. You shouldn't expect old Slim Shady type shit, because you're not getting it here. What you're getting here is just great wordplay and anger at modern rappers, people. It's just diss tracks. It's an album of diss tracks. It's like a scrapbook of people with, like a yearbook picture with an X through it. That's basically what this whole album is. Let's go ahead and plug this shit into the Moist Meter. I'm giving Eminem's Kamikaze a 60%. It is, again, an alright album. It's above average. His lyricism is still unmatched, and he really flexes his scrotum here with how great he is with rhyming schemes and just coming up with really good puns, punchlines, and just incredible, great wordplay. And that is something I've always admired about him, and he hasn't lost that. And that's great. But that's about the best compliment I can give the album. Lucky You, though, the song I mentioned earlier, that's a fucking banger. I really liked Lucky You. So even if everything else on this album wasn't that great, the album was worth being released just because Lucky You was so good. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Bad Times at the El Royale. This is a movie I was pretty excited to see, and as Andrew put it, it's 7 strangers stuck in a fuck house, and that's exactly what the movie turned out to be. It advertises 7 strangers, 7 secrets, but how good is the movie? How fucking what is it? Let's get into it. So 7 strangers, 7 secrets. It's not entirely accurate. Yeah, some of them have some secrets, but as the movie continues to progress, I feel like they forgot that they're supposed to have secrets, because then a couple of them just get super trivial, like, oh, this girl's left foot's a little longer than her right foot. Shocking. This other character left a 10% tip instead of the standard 15% tip at the diner she went to before she arrived at the El Royale. It's just dumb little secrets as it continues to progress, but that's not a huge complaint because I don't think the secrets really mattered. They were there to set up a really interesting plot, and it's not a plot without holes. There's a lot of fucking holes in the plot, but that doesn't change how unique it was or how it was delivered. It was really nice seeing the plot unfold from a bunch of different perspectives. A lot of times what'll happen is it's divided into rooms for each stranger, so you'll get one perspective from one character, and then when something happens, it'll have like a little fucking checkpoint like in a video game, and then it'll rewind the scene and you see the same kind of shit, or the same time period unfold from a different character's perspective, and I like that. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a very fun way of presenting the narrative. And the acting here was fucking phenomenal. The guy who played Miles blew it out of the fucking park. I don't know who that guy was, but if he's not nominated for 10 Grammys and an Oscar, it's doing the world a great disservice. I know Grammy is for music, but god damn it, this guy was just super good. He deserves all the awards. Hats off to you, Miles, if you're watching this. 100% on the Moist Meter for your performance. Overall, though, every character performed great, especially Jeff Bridges and Miles. I was expecting much more of a mystery and slow burn kind of movie where a lot of different shit gets thrown at you and it's really off the wall. That's not exactly what you get with this movie. It's all pretty straightforward and spoon-fed to you, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but definitely not what I was expecting. It has a very interesting plot up until the end, then it kind of just becomes like this pretty standard crime drama movie, and there's really not like a whole lot of emotion or anything super powerful or moving. It doesn't really utilize the unique narrative and setting that it sets up in the beginning. It kind of just becomes this generic crime drama flick, and that's disappointing, but it's still really good at a crime drama movie, and it has the nice kicker of having a great fucking setup, and with some great cinematography to add that nice little semen droplet on the top of this beautiful fucking cake that I think most of you should want to eat. I think it's a good movie. Like I said, it's got great direction, but maybe the last 30, maybe even 40 minutes, it just kind of becomes a pretty generic and predictable crime drama movie. A bit of a letdown, but it's still good at being a crime drama movie, so let's go ahead and plug this bitch into the Moist Meter. I'm giving Bad Times at the El Royale an 80%. I definitely think they could have done a lot more with the latter half of this movie, but still very good, and I really enjoyed it. It's a fucking good movie. See ya.
This episode of the Moist Meter was brought to you by NordVPN.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a movie about Freddie Mercury and kind of Queen. I think they're in it a little bit. I think the movie is supposed to be about the band as a whole, but really the movie just kind of comes across as this is about Freddie Mercury, and sometimes those fucking losers show up and have an impact on his life. It's a movie that feels like it was made by someone who read the Wikipedia page for Freddie Mercury one time and then thought, shit, there's a lot here that we need to cover. Let's just do our best to kind of tap into each one of these things very haphazardly. I don't really need to explain to you what this movie is about or who Queen is. Every single person in America has heard their music. Their shit is played at every single sporting event for the last 30 years at every level. A fucking pee-wee football game is probably blasting Queen as the kids come out to play football. A high school basketball game's playing it as a warm-up song. A professional football game's playing it for the pre-show to get the crowd energized. Everyone's heard Queen music. It's been everywhere. It's played all the fucking time. You don't even really need to be able to hear. I'm sure people that are hearing impaired probably even know the We Will Rock You. It's the most universal shit to ever come out of the music industry. It's huge for a reason, and this movie was supposed to celebrate Queen, but at the end of the day, the movie is, here's Queen's best hits, and here's how Freddie Mercury responded to it and how it came about from Freddie Mercury's perspective. The entire movie just revolves around Freddie Mercury and his life, and they don't even really get into it or explore it all that much. But the performance from Rami to play Freddie is superb. He fucking killed the role. I'm a big fan of Rami. I've really enjoyed most of his work throughout his career, and this is by far some of his best. Actually, I take that shit back. His best work is Until Dawn. I fucking love Until Dawn. But this is a close second. It's a really fantastic performance, and not just from Rami, pretty much across the board. But you really don't need to know how the acting is from the other characters because you don't really get to know them that much or see them that much. That's a huge complaint I have. If you're going to make a movie to celebrate Queen and their music, probably have the band in there and play a little bit of a bigger role in the movie, I'd say. Or if you're going to make a movie about Freddie Mercury, at least fucking commit to it. They have the most bleached Freddie Mercury story that you could have possibly made. For a movie that preaches how it's okay to be different and being out there is a good thing, the movie is the most cookie cutter generic shit. It's so by the numbers, it's insulting. And it's not the fault of like the actors or anything. Like I said, they all fucking kill it in their roles, but it's just they clearly didn't want to commit to really showing either Queen in the music or Freddie Mercury in his personal life and Freddie Mercury as a person. So then you kind of get this divided shit where you have a little bit of Queen and a little bit of Freddie Mercury, and none of it's really explored or that well done. But it all kind of leads to a very satisfying conclusion where they play the Live Aid concert, and watching the concert was amazing. I really enjoyed that entire 20-minute scene. They did the whole fucking set, and it was really, really fun to watch. But the movie as a whole is just not that good. There's some certain points in it that are, commendable, but overall it's just a pretty disingenuous Queen tribute, or Freddie Mercury tribute, I'd say. They make him out to be like a bad guy a lot. They really vilify his homosexuality a lot as well. It just doesn't really seem like they knew what kind of direction to take the film. But Rami fucking killed it, so, that they had a lot of Rami on screen, and that's definitely the strongest part of this movie. Absolutely fantastic from him, and the music was, of course, great. This movie had a change of directors during its production. You can really feel it because the whole plot just seems really disjointed and scattered, as if it's just going from one Wikipedia paragraph to the next Wikipedia paragraph with nothing in between or connecting it. And it's a real shame. But this whole movie is just kind of like Queen's greatest hits. Let's perform them. And that's its strongest part. When the performances are going on, they're playing their classic iconic songs, it's a great fucking time. The entire theater was enjoying it. Some asshole threw up a lighter in the front row. Cute, disruptive, but cute. It just goes to show how influential Queen was as a band, and it's nice to see that on screen, especially when there's such talented actors performing them. So that was great, but narratively, it's the most cookie-cutter, generic, musical story that has ever been told. It was almost like Walk Hard, and Walk Hard is a parody of that kind of shit. It was so formulaic, it was just downright insulting to Queen, in my opinion. And they really just were way too afraid to make the actual Queen story or the Freddie Mercury story. All this being said, I'm giving Bohemian Rhapsody a 55. The best parts of the movie are Rami as Freddie Mercury and all of the performances in the movie. There's a lot of them, so there is a lot to like. But when it's connected with such a weak narrative and a lot of just nonsensical shit, and even kind of insulting to Freddie Mercury by vilifying his homosexuality as a plot point in this whole film, it's just, you can't help but be let down by it. But the concerts, the performances, absolutely fucking worth it in this movie. Just like it's probably worth it to keep your shit protected online with NordVPN. Take it away, Jackson.
Thanks, Charlie. It's Jackson here. Our safety experts at Moist HQ recommend that if you want to listen to Queen's albums on the internet, you use NordVPN to keep those precious little internet fingers of yours safe. You can browse the internet in absolute confidence knowing that NordVPN has your back with science humans may very well just never understand. Right now, they're running a Cyber Month 3-year deal that lets you get NordVPN for only $2.99 a month. That's a massive 75% off discount. On top of this, if you use Penguinz0 at checkout, that's PENGUINZ0 at checkout, you can get 1 free month of protection on top of that super special deal. That is what is known in the biz as a pretty moist deal. Go check them out and stay safe. This episode of Moist Meter was brought to you by NordVPN.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. I ate a real hot pepper a second ago because I'm trying to get my tolerance up a lot. And Jesus, my mouth feels like the business end of a cow's asshole. Not that I've ever rim jobbed a cow or anything. I'm just trying to express it doesn't feel good. Today on the Moist Meter is a Happytime Murder. I just saw it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. The writing fucking sucked, but I absolutely loved the universe they built. I thought it was really a nice creative universe. There's a lot of talent in this movie. The puppeting was fucking amazing, and I really liked the behind the scenes they did at the end. Jesus, I really liked the behind the scenes they did at the end. That was a lot of fun to see how it all kind of came together, and the aesthetic of the whole movie with the puppets and humans and shit coexisting, but in kind of like a racist society where the humans hate puppets. It was an interesting dynamic, and it led to some fun stuff in the movie a little bit. But the writing constantly just held this bitch back. It was mainly as if like an edgy 14-year-old wrote it, like, yeah, let's make a puppet come a lot, like a lot of cum. Like when you think he's out of cum, he comes more. Like that's the whole scene in the movie. The story focuses around murders of the Happytime Gang. The Happytime Gang was a fictional TV show in their universe, and someone's out murdering all of them for some reason. It's up to two detectives, a puppet and a human, to solve the mystery. And spoiler alert, they do, and it's satisfying, it's fun. But the writing fucking sucks. The comedy was not very good. There's a couple zingers in there that kind of made me smile a little bit. For the most part, all the humor fell flat. The jokes were basically just fuck. Fuck was the punchline to the majority of the jokes. Fuck you. No, fuck you. No, fuck you. No, fuck you. Fuck you. And that was the joke. Rarely will fuck ever be a punchline to a solid joke. It can help with the build-up. It can help with actually the delivery and the execution of a joke, but never should it be its own punchline as a joke. It doesn't typically go over very well, and it didn't in this movie. And it's a shame because this movie, I feel, did have a lot of potential with such a very well-executed puppet performance and a fun story and universe. It's just a shame that as a comedy movie, it was really not good as a comedy at all. It just tried too hard for just the general shock. Oh, these are puppets doing things puppets shouldn't be doing. Puppets are supposed to be for kids, but these puppets are at a strip club and a porn shop. What the fuck? Yikes. Don't tell your mom about these puppets on this movie. It's a shame. So let's go ahead and plug this shit into the Moist Meter. I'm giving Happytime Murders at 35% because, like I said, love the universe, and there are a couple of zingers in here a little bit, but it is just not a very good movie overall. It's very weak. It seems very lazy in terms of its writing, and the characters are fine, just the dialogue didn't help the characters at all. So it's just fucking bad comedy, but an interesting movie with a fun little universe that they put together. And man, do I have a lot of respect for how this movie was made after seeing behind the scenes. It looks like such a tedious task, and it's clear a lot of passion went into the actual art of puppeteering, whatever, I don't know what the verb is, or the sport or whatever, but it shouldn't touch my eye, but it was impressive. That's it. See ya.
Howdy folks, incontinent puppeteer in training Jackson here with exciting news for everyone. I'm here to tell you about how you can keep safe on the rough sesame streets of life, and that is through NordVPN. NordVPN is the premier VPN service that hides your internet browsing history and keeps you safe from any invading eyes. It's available through many different platforms, including iPhone, Mac, PC, and Android, and using it pretty much guarantees you'll have the safest time on the internet. Through nordvpn.org/penguinz0, you can get this expert level of protection for 77% off, making it also the most affordable way to remain secure. The internet is a vast and scary place, full of people and defeat and shit. So make sure you take the initiative and keep your household safe by using NordVPN by going to nordvpn.org/penguin0 for that 77% off for a full year's worth of protection. That's nordvpn.org/penguin0.
Initiating moisture protocol.
Bad Samaritan, bad Solarian, bad Scarrigan, bad salmon, bad marketing. I guarantee you've never heard of the movie Bad Samaritan because there was no marketing for it at all. This movie was dead on arrival. It is in the top 10 lowest grossing opening weekends ever. It's number 8. It grossed 1.7 million on so far, and that's abominable. Usually when I go to see a new movie, the conversation my girlfriend and I have is, should we get tickets ahead of time? Like, what if they're sold out? Or what if the seats are shitty? The conversation we had this time is, are they even bothering to sell tickets to this movie? Have they even heard of it? Are they showing it? This movie I have never heard of until I looked online to see what was playing, and I saw Bad Samaritan, and I assumed it was like a Bollywood movie translation or something, because, like I said, I genuinely heard nothing about this, despite it actually having some talent in this movie, like some decent-sized names. And it's a shame, because this is a good fucking movie. In a nutshell, the movie revolves around a thief who works as a valet. He steals someone's car, robs their house, but while robbing it, he finds that he has a prisoner, a woman, and then it becomes a mission to save that woman, and becomes a game of cat and mouse, and it's really good. It's good. It actually is really good. Now, there's still a lot of problems with this movie. It really drags in some points, and the pacing can sometimes get a little weird, but that's not a huge hindrance. The acting is fantastic, and all the characters are really well fleshed out. In this movie, it really takes everything logical that movies just throw out, and just you have to suspend your disbelief, like, why didn't the character do this or act this way? This movie calls it out. For instance, when he first comes across the girl, he made a silly decision, and then his friend said, why the fuck didn't you do this? And his excuse made a lot of sense. He was panicking, he didn't know when the guy was going to be home, and it's like, okay, well, that's rational, I understand that. And it does that a couple of times throughout this movie. There's still some bad decisions made, but for the most part, everything is very logical, and if a bad decision is made, they justify it really well, which I have a lot of respect for. It's basically calling out the elephant in the room for having a small wiener. And it's just a refreshing movie, really, because it's just a classic thriller. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. There's nothing super crazy about this movie. It just does by the numbers well. And that's nice. It was nice to see, especially going into this with no expectations, because I didn't even know what it was about. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a single trailer of this movie on YouTube, which is a shame because it is good, and I feel like this movie would have done well with most audiences because it's just well executed. The tense moments are very tense, and the main complaints I have are it kind of gets a little goofy in the second part, like the middle part of the movie. It becomes a plot of revenge, but it's very petty revenge. It's like, I'm breaking up with you, girlfriend, bitch, and here's a titty picture sent around. That was kind of silly to watch. That wasn't very cool or scary or anything. I get why it's there, but it was just still a very silly segment. But overall, the movie's just super solid. It's not really any twists and turns or anything. It's just a matter of catching the guy and saving the girl and not getting everyone around you killed. Solid movie. Let's plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving this a 70%. My main problems with the movie revolve around the dragging in certain points, and also there are some silly scenes in here. And in addition to that, there's also some shit where you really do need to suspend your disbelief, because it seems like there was some very easy ways of catching the guy almost immediately that weren't addressed. But very solid overall. It's worth seeing. I'd be very surprised if this movie even got over 5 million overall in its whole run, because there is no marketing for this. Even walking through the theater where they have every single movie playing with posters, there was no poster for Bad Samaritan. And unsurprisingly, my girlfriend and I were the only ones in the theater. It's a shame, but it's a good movie. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture protocol.
Welcome to the Moist Meter, where we're all surprised a video game movie wasn't a massive pile of shit. The movie I'm talking about is Rampage, if you didn't read the title of the video. The movie is based on a game series of the same name. I only ever played the Rampage for the N64, and I fucking loved it as a kid. And this movie really captures a lot of the spirit of the game, in my opinion. There's even a few Easter eggs in there if you like to jerk off to some callbacks and cameos and such. Now, the movie story, it's very simple. An evil organization creates a pathogen. Space station explodes, which has the pathogen, and it drops 3 of them into some animals' areas right to their fucking doorstep, like a Blue Apron delivery. They inhale the pathogen, and it makes them super aggressive and super big. They start destroying Chicago, and it's up to The Rock and his sidekick to save the day. Like a little, one of those blowing the air out of your nose and stuff like that. And it's hard to make me laugh at a movie. So getting that is a Herculean task, so good job, Paddington. The movie is just so fun and so wholesome. I have no complaints about this movie. Absolutely none. The cast was great. Everything was acted beautifully. Story was super fun, really fast paced, a lot going on, a fun little adventure. It's just, oh my goodness, I can't rave enough about Paddington 2. I never thought I would be this blown away by a movie like Paddington 2. It's just amazing what they were able to accomplish and how well they did it. Paddington is the cutest little thing. The absolute cutest little thing. And at the end of the movie, you know exactly how it's going to unfold, but you can't help but just get super emotional. I didn't cry, I'm happy to say. I managed to muscle my way through that without flexing the tear ducts. So that's, I'm still a big, strong man with hairy testicles. But man, I was close. I was fucking close. I've only cried at 2 movies. Well, 1 movie and 1 TV show. The only movie I ever cried at was Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr. Only TV show is Pokemon when Ash was shooing away Pikachu. But this movie, it came close to being number 3. What a great fucking movie. I highly recommend this to anyone out there. And this is a great movie if you have a niece, nephew, son, daughter, and they want to go see a movie. But all these movies have, rock and roll, titties, and, well, there's no blood, because blood wouldn't get them a PG-13 rating anymore, it'd be R. But, rock and roll and titties all over the place. So you want to take them to something where you feel safe, and they'll learn something and have a good time. And you don't want to be bored out of your mind either. Paddington 2. Absolutely Paddington 2, hands down. It's just a fucking great movie for everyone, not just for kids. I love the movie. Absolutely love it. I cannot compliment the movie enough. So let's just go ahead and pop this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving this a 90%, and the only reason I'm not giving it 100% is just because, like I've said before, 100% I feel is reserved for absolute masterpieces that I think everyone needs to get up and go see immediately. I'm talking a movie where I don't care if you can't even afford to buy yourself a bag of Doritos, you better start getting your ass to Wishing Wells and plundering that shit, collecting quarters to save up enough to buy a ticket to a movie I give 100% to on a moist meter. That's the kind of film and video game I'm reserving for 100%. And Paddington 2 is not that kind of movie. It's a fucking fantastic movie. It's an amazing movie even. But it's not a movie where I think everyone needs to go see it right away. It's not a movie that made my nipples grow 3 inches. It didn't make me taller. If it made me taller, I'd give that well above 100% on the moist meter. But it's a fucking great movie that I do think is absolutely worth seeing if you want to see a movie, or if you have to take, a younger person to a movie, and you don't want one that's going to bore the shit out of you. And I didn't give it a 95% either, only because it is still a kid's movie. If you're an adult, it's not going to make this huge, lasting impression on you that's going to change your outlook on life. I feel I need to clarify a bit better why I didn't give this movie a 95%. And it's not just because, it's a kid's movie, it's not mature enough for me, it didn't change the way I perceive reality, and it didn't open my third eye. It's because I reserve 95s and 100s to movies that really push boundaries, movies that really excel in every possible area. They take risks, and it pays off, and it becomes this masterpiece. 95s and 100s are pretty interchangeable to me. There's really no difference between a 95 and a 100. To me, the gap is 90 to 100. And Paddington 2 is the closest thing to me wanting to give it a 95, but I don't really think that's accurate, because to me that says this is a movie that everyone everywhere will love, no matter what their personal tastes are. And Paddington 2 is not that kind of movie. It's an incredible movie that I do think the majority of people will enjoy, as long as they're open to just having a mindlessly wholesome, fun adventure ride, a very cute movie. But it's not a movie where I feel is one that took a lot of risks or didn't play by the rules. It's just a movie that excelled in all of the areas that it hit, and those areas it hit are areas that are covered in a million other kids' movies and movies like Paddington 2. I just think Paddington 2 is the best one. So that's my justification for not going above a 90. But it is an absolutely fantastic movie. I have no complaints about it. Everything it wanted to do, it did beautifully. A fucking great movie. I couldn't be happier with my purchase of those Paddington 2 tickets. I want to fucking frame those bad boys. I want those bitches up on the wall. I want to get Paddington 2 memorabilia. God damn, that movie was fucking good. So yeah, that's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today I'll be analyzing the moisture content in The Disaster Artist. this is a movie I was really looking forward to because The Room is a movie that's very close to my heart. It's a movie that I think about every time I fart. It is a beautiful masterpiece of a movie. Now, those of you who've followed me for a while know I have a very strong passion for bad media, bad video games, bad movies, bad music. I love it, and I seek it out, and I always have. So I saw The Room around 2009, 2010, somewhere in that ballpark, and fell in love. Absolutely fell in love with it. And by extension, I fell in love with Tommy, that beautiful enigma, that cosmic anomaly that is Tommy Wiseau. I even watched his Let's Plays he did on the Machinima YouTube channel. I don't know how many of you remember that. You may have read about it in history textbooks at some point, but it was probably before most of your times. He did this show called The Tommy Y Show where he played games and made like very short videos, kind of in the same vein as The Room except with aliens. It was great. I mean, the only question after watching The Tommy Y Show is, Tommy, why are you even doing this? And I don't have the answer, but I'm glad he did. He is a genius, an absolute fucking mad genius. Now let's get to the movie, The Disaster Artist. I'm happy to say it was a pleasant surprise in how good it turned out. What a story, Mark, really. It was just a wholesome, fun movie to watch. It wasn't like a laugh out loud movie or anything like that. It was just an enjoyable experience. And it's one of the few movies I've gone to where the audience actually participated in the movie. They tossed out memes because, you know, The Room has become this massive meme. I mean, I invested in The Room memes well before they caught on to the mainstream, kind of like See a Coin in the cryptocurrency market. Mark your calendars. It's going to take off any day now. It's going to be reaching Bitcoin levels in months. Soon, See a Coin will overthrow the USD. But enough of the cryptocurrency tangent. It was fun having the audience participate in the, oh, hi, Marks, you're tearing me apart, Lisa's, you know, the big memes and shit. It was entertaining. It was just a fun movie. I went with my girlfriend and she's never seen The Room, and she walked away saying how much she enjoyed the movie. And that's something I didn't really expect. I really just kind of expected this to be marketed only towards the hardcore memers, the people who really like The Room, and those would be the only demographic that would enjoy the movie. But it's just a good movie in and of its own right. You don't have to see The Room to enjoy this movie. I don't think it's a gut-busting, hoot-and-hollering comedy movie, but it's a good movie nonetheless. It tells a good story of friendship and following your dreams, and yeah, you might be a fucking weird creep, and things might not turn out the way you want them to, but it can still lead to something great, and you can leave your mark, and you can leave a great legacy. It was a surprisingly uplifting movie, and it had a massive cast of Hollywood juggernauts in the comedy world. Seth Rogen, Bryan Cranston's not really a comedy actor. Well, you know what? Maybe he wants to be. Bryan Cranston, here's a challenge for you if you're watching. Make me laugh, and then I'll decide if you have a future as a comedy actor. But what I'm saying is they have this big powerhouse cast of A-list Hollywood actors who seem to have participated in this movie just out of the pure passion and love they have for the original The Room. And it shows in their performance. They did shot-for-shot remakes of some of the scenes, flawlessly executed. And it was just a really fun, entertaining movie to watch, even if you haven't seen The Room. It's a good standalone, self-contained, not super inside joke-heavy movie. In fact, it's not really a joke-heavy movie either, I would argue. I don't think it's a great comedy movie, but it's just a good movie to see anyway. I don't really have a whole lot of complaints. Everything just kind of worked, and it was fun. So let's go ahead and pop this shit into the moist meter and check how wet it is. This is an 85%. It was great acting, great story, uplifting, fun. The subject matter is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen, which is The Room. It was just a really good experience all around. If you've seen The Room, you've got to see this one, I would say. If you haven't seen The Room, you still might like this. So, that's it. So, yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Good morning and welcome to the Moist Meter. I just woke up and I know it looks like I've been fucking zapped by static shock, but I just had a whole lot on my mind, so instead of Saturday morning cartoons, which are no longer a thing, now we have Friday morning cartons of cum delivered right from Moist Meter headquarters. I hope you've worked up an appetite this breakfast morning because we're delivering a highly nutritious cereal breakfast consisting of all the major groups in the food pyramid, high in vitamin W, vitamin wet of course, and we're going to deliver a moisture content analysis of the new movie Blade Runner 2049. Going into this movie, I had very low expectations. Super used to just swallowing shit that the ass goblins in Hollywood shovel out their unnecessary sequels to great movies, remakes of great movies, all of which just suck anus. But this movie got really good reviews before coming out, so I actually got some pretty high hopes going into it. And leaving the theater, I was really indifferent. There's so much I liked, but there was so much I didn't like. Let me start with what I liked. The visuals are the best I've ever seen in any movie. The world is absolutely beautiful. The film is shot perfectly. It is the most beautiful world I've ever seen in a movie. I wanted to just live in that world. I wanted to crawl up into its dick hole and just exist in it. It was absolutely breathtaking. Every scene, so much eye candy, gave me eye diabetes. The world is just shit my pants and slap my mother beautiful. And what really helps take that to the next level, really elevate it above what human beings can comprehend. Even the most high IQ Rick and Morty viewer will have a hard time comprehending the beauty and the magnitude of these amazing visuals, is the sound. It complements it so well. The sound is just incredible, so great. It's really loud though. Makes it feel like you're in a fucking roller coaster ride or getting hit by an earthquake. The whole movie theater shakes at some points. But it's so great, and it all fits the mood and makes the whole world feel alive. The sound design and the music is the best I've ever heard in a movie ever. So this movie has the best visuals I've ever seen and the best sound design I have ever heard. The sound just always builds up, like it's just this crescendo where it keeps building up, trying to get you hyped up, like you're really horny and you're trying to ejaculate. You got your vinegar strokes, and then it lets you ejaculate with a great visual piece and a great musical climax. The sound, the visuals, perfection, genuine perfection, nothing shy of a masterpiece. But everything else in this movie sucks anus. Like, it really just gargles farts out of assholes. Like, the story is just so uninteresting, so cliche. I had a dream last night where I was the limo driver for RoboCop, and he had to go stop Judge Dredd, so I was driving him there, and I was trying to help him strategize how he would do such a thing. And that dream had a more interesting plot than this movie. This movie is just so devoid of substance. It's not thought-provoking. It very loosely explores the idea of what it means to have a soul, but it ends up just kind of exploring the idea of what it means to put people to sleep, because the story fucking sucks. It's just not good, and the things that happen kind of happen and no one cares, because there's no purpose to it. There's no resolution in this movie. When the credits do finally roll after 3 fucking hours, nothing changes. Really, everything that happened was so insignificant. Nothing at all in that world or in the movie at all had any impact on anything. It was just so fucking useless. It was like a Dora the Explorer adventure where she'll go on this adventure, the adventure ends, and then, who cares? It's just dumb. It was really dumb. And I want to touch on the runtime of this movie. It's about 3 hours. This movie drags on like a motherfucker. There was a scene where Kay, the main character, was picking up a toy horse for 3 minutes. It took him 3 minutes to pick up the toy horse because he was moving so slowly. That's half of this movie. Half of this movie just drags on in the most unnecessary departments. It'll be a minute or 2 minutes of him just looking intensely or smoking a cigarette. I get to watch him finish a cigarette and then light another one. It's just dumb. So much of this movie drags on. It has no reason to drag on. It doesn't build suspense. It doesn't make you feel anything. There's just really nothing interesting about the plot at all. At all. And don't go in there expecting action. The trailers make it seem like it's pretty heavy on action. There's 4 scenes of action, if you can even call it that. Everything is underwhelming. Nothing in this movie really feels important at all. The final fight is so dumb. I mean, you might as well have had the final fight on a bumper car arena. It's stupid. It was just so underwhelming, I think is the best word for it. Underwhelming story, underwhelming action, underwhelming development. There's a little plot twist that you can't really predict, and it doesn't really matter. But who cares? It's just such a letdown. They had so much potential here to tell a really great story, but they didn't use it at all. The story is truly just uninteresting. They also really hyped the fuck out of Harrison Ford being in this. This was like McGregor versus Mayweather, except this would be McGregor and Mayweather holding hands in an action movie. That's how the trailers made it seem, but Harrison Ford doesn't come in until the last 30 minutes of the movie, and 20 of those minutes is spent as a damsel in distress. He just gets kidnapped immediately and chained like a fucking animal in a cage for 20 minutes and has to be rescued, and then the movie ends. It's dumb. He had no role. I mean, he had a role. His character played a role in this really mediocre story, but Harrison Ford himself didn't do fuck all in this movie. There's really not a whole lot more I need to put my dick in here, so let's go ahead and just put this in the moist meter analysis machine. This is a 75%, and it hurts me to say that because I want to give this something like a 95%, because this movie is fucking stunning in every department except the plot and really anything revolving the plot. It's just so uninteresting, and I get what they're going for. They're going for a character that a lot of people can relate to. A character who's very lonely, no one likes him, and the only way he has any type of companionship or a friend is through a machine that is designed to be his friend and tell him what he wants to hear. A holographic Furby that is always on his team. And it's sad, he's a sad character. He has a little bit of depth, but so what? He doesn't, nothing he does really takes advantage of this great world or this villain they set up. He just kind of exists as a lonely man who wants to be special, has an opportunity to be special, and tries to work on that aspect, on being special, trying to fulfill that special calling that he might have. And it's just not, it's not interesting. It's not compelling. It really doesn't take advantage of everything this movie could have brought. It's just a letdown. That's the best word for it. It's a letdown. Everything is great except for that. It's still worth seeing because it's fucking beautiful. Hopefully you have an entire day to set aside because this shit is so incredibly long. But yeah, it's a good movie, and that's it. See ya.